Family, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. This is actually a third video, and that is an update 2. In the previous videos, the first one, we spoke about how to create the various components from a Bootstrap template and implementing them in Blazor WebAssembly. We spoke about that, how to do them. So that is necessary for the UI, creating the UI. So that is what you see on the screen. In the second video, we spoke about creating an API, that's a web API. So this video, as a third one, is going to be creating services from the client project to have access to the API. So let's create service so that our API can render this service to our client section. That is going to be the third video. So if you haven't watched the other 2 videos, please check the description. The links are there. You have to watch them before you can proceed to this. Because this is a build-up. They're going to build from where we stopped in the last video. That is an update 2. You know, in Blazor WebAssembly, we have the 3 projects. We have the client side, that is the Blazor WebAssembly. We have an API as a server, and we have a class library as a shared. So we worked on the first one, the client, for designing this UI that you see. We have a home, about, and we can see from here that we have all these features over here: property and address, contact, and add property. We have the following property listings, and we have the mode, the type, the price, the name, location, size, number of births, and number of bath. So all these come together to form the UI, and that is what the client talks about. Now the server is an API. So here we have to create our services, our controller, and render these services from the database. And we did that to you in the previous video. That is update number 2. Or that's update number 1. Now there's an update number 2 to make it as a 3 videos. And now you're going to work on creating a service to render for the client. So let's start. So let's go to the client, and we have to create a folder here. And we're going to name that folder as services. So new folder, and now this folder has to be named as services. So this services, you know, in our repository, in the server project, you can see that from the previous video, our repository, we have house repositories. Now this house repository comprised of the interface and implementation. And you have to do the same thing over here. So we are doing an encapsulation to get the same content over here into a folder or a file in these services. So how do you do this? We have to also create an interface, and I have to also create an implementation. But this time around, instead of using the database as an app.db context, we want to use an HTTP call. So this is going to make a call to the controller, that is the house controller over here, whereby this controller will get the data, get connected to the repository. The repository also get data from the database using this app.db context and the empty framework. So that is what we are doing. Now in our services, let's right click, and now let's add another service, another folder. And that is going to be a house service. So this is house service. So house services. So let's add this folder. And now let's create an interface here. So add new file, and you're going to select an interface. So you're going to name it as house service or iHouse service. So let's create an interface here. And this interface, iHouse service. So that's the interface. We have to also create an implementation. So let's do that. So that's going to be a class interface, and you have implementation. So that's going to be house service. So this house service must inherit from this iHouse service. So let's inherit from iHouse service. So this iHouse service, we have to implement the interface. But for now, we are not having anything here. So let's go to the iHouse service. And now the first method that you want to grab is a task. And now it is going for a response. So this response is actually coming from our shared project. So we did that in the first, and that is the second video. That's an update one. So you see that we have our responses folder here, and we have this response. So that is what we are calling over here. And this is add, let's add data. And this is going to be house data. And here we must pass in a request. So house request DTO, and let's name it as model. That is our first method. So here is to add data add data to the application. Second one here, task is also coming up of a response, and that's an update house data. And also this is also coming out with house request DTO, and it is also as model. Now the third is, so here let's get a list of house request. So this is a response, list of house response DTO, and that is a get all house data. So this has no parameter. The next thing is task, and now we have to go in for house response DTO, and with this we can talk about get single house data. Here you need to pass in an ID. Now the next one is, let's go for task, and this is a response, and here let's make task delete house data. We have to pass in an ID. So that is the method that we need as this house data, and here we are performing all the CRUD operation, that is a create, read, update, and delete. Now, once we have the class inherited from this, let's go to that class and implement the interfaces created here. So our hard service, let's implement the interfaces. So control period is going to get you the list to implement the interface. So I'm going to click here, then click on this drop down and implement interfaces over here. Okay, now we see we have a constructor created. Now this constructor, it is there to initialize a value a method as soon as this class gets called. So let's pass in an HTTP context here to get that called as soon as this class loads, before any other method loads here. So HTTP client, you can use this HTTP client. So let's use a name as HTTP client. Now let's initialize this. So we're going to click on this, and I'll create an assigned field as HTTP client. So in here, the first one is to add data. Now let's say this is, so let's say result is equal to, we can call for an await HTTP client dot, and here that is post as async, this async, and here it has to use system.net.http.json. So post as async, we can specify the URI and rather than API, and the controller name is house. So, and what is the object that you want to pass in here? You will see we have a T value. The T value, it is model. Now this is going to come out as a response. So let's say var response is equal to, so let's read from result dot content dot read as async. So let's read from async. Now let's pass in this response because that is what we want to grab from the result. And you can now close this. So once you have this, you can now return response peacefully. So that is what we are doing here. Now the same thing applies to this. Now in here, it is not post. Here is going to be delete. So let's go for this. And I'm going to do the same thing. So var result is equal to await HTTP client dot delete as async. So you can use the delete async from this, and we're going to pass in, as you can see from here, we need a URI. So we're going to use the string interpolation. Then you say API / house. Then we're going to pass in the ID. So that is an ID here. We terminate it. And now var response is equal to, so await result dot content dot read from this missing. So you pass in the response, come in, and you can now return response. Okay. That is to delete the data. Now, the next thing that you have to do is to get all data. So let's create var results. So this is results. It's equal to await HTTP client dot get async. So get async. Then you need to specify the URI, and that is the API / house. That is the name of the controller. So API / house is the name of the controller. And now we have to read the response. So var responses is equal to await results dot content dot read from this missing. And I have to pass in the list of response, the list of house response. Let's do it well. So that's the list of house response BTO. Then we can now close this. So let's return responses. So that is to get all data. Now the next thing to do is to get a single data as well. So to get single data, we say var result is equal to await HTTP client dot, so get async. Now with this get async, we have to also pass in same as what we did for the delete. So we say API / house. Then we can specify the ID here. And then close it. So var response is equal to await result.content dot read from this missing, passing this response model, then terminate it. Then at the end of the day, let's return the response. So in here, that is what we have to do first. Now, here's supposed to be this house request DTO. So let's copy this, because we're getting the data that is coming out from the database. It is a house response DTO. So it's actually a house model, but our converters are going to convert it to a house response DTO, and that's the output that we are getting from this call. So you have to return same to the return type over here, that's a signature. Okay, so here's an update. And now this update, let's see, so var result is equal to await HTTP dot, so here it is put. Let's use put as JSON, async, and now we need to specify the string and the T value. So here it is API / house, and also the value here it is model. So in this, let's get var response is equal to await result dot content dot read as, or read from this missing. You can pass in, it is coming out of what a response. Coming to a response, then we can now close this. And at the end of the day, we have to return response. Okay, so with this, what we have written here, you can shortcut this and maybe have a single line. Okay, like getting all this from this, instead of holding this report or holding this, creating a var response with this, using this get async, you can use get as async or get as async or get as JSON async. Okay, so and you're going to pass in this list. So this list, then you're going to return just one line. That is also there, so you can also do this. Let's try this and see the one that I'm talking about. You can just return. Let's copy this to this side. Let's paste this here. So instead of all this is what maybe you can do. We can just write return. Let's say if this works, so return await. So return await HTTP client dot get from JSON async. Then you can pass in list, or that is a house response DTO. So house response DTO. Then you can specify the URI here as an API / house. So you can do this. And we see this is just one line of code, and it's going to also get the same thing from here. Okay, so we have, because of we have the same name, so this is going to get the same content as this. But in this case, we are using this. They can also use this as well, and it will get the same way as this one will do. So let's clear this off. Okay. So now we have these services. What we have to do, we have to now make a call. So let's create a DI, that is the dependency injection in the service program.cs under the client section. So in here, we are going to use builder.services. So builder.services .add scope. And I record the iHouse service. And the name, the implementation class is for house service. So DI has been created, that is dependency injection. has been created. Okay, let's save this. Now what you can do here is any wizard page that you want to use this, we can call this service or inject this service into that wizard component and then call the data from there. So let's see, first of all, we are going to the property type under the pages. We have this property list here. So this list, we have a lot of lists over here for this tab content. Then this is a tab content, and this is tab 1. And aside from that tab, you see we have the for sale, apartment, and etc. And we also have the image 2 over here. So in this case, what are you going to do? So we can now go ahead and now create. But you see from when you check the UI here, we have 3 tabs. You can decide to generate this tab from the database. Okay, you can decide to generate this tab from the database, or you can decide to put or bring this tab manually here. But the reason why it is advisable to generate tabs from the database is it might be that next time you want to get 2 tabs here, or you want to get 3 tabs. So it's just a matter of deleting the content that you have in the database, and that tab is going to be hidden. But when you do a static here, it means anytime that you want to change tab, unless you have to run your application again and edit it and run it again. So for now, let's maintain the static one in the application. Maybe later videos talk about how to get it from the database, how to create tabs from the database. Okay, so we go to our application. Now let's grab one content from this area. So we see we have one content here, and that is a container. So if you check, this is the container 1. So this is the container which contains all the images. We have container right here. Now let's see this container contains everything as well. But when it comes to this row, let's see what this row does. So this row contains only the first one. Let's see, only this first one. Now there is a row and that's the end. So here you have the features. And now when we go to the next one, we have the images over here. So this features, sell, and for rent. So when we go to our page, you can see we have sell, rent, and feature. Now the first one here is an image that you see, and that's exactly what we see over here. So we can just minimize this for rent. Now this is the tab content. So with the tab content, you can see that this is tab 1. So with this tab 1, we have all this. As you can see from this, the start from this tab content and end at the end. But let's say from this row, you get this. Now this is the end of this tab. So let's see. So this is the end. So that's the end of this tab over here. Okay. So you can see we have bat and all the other types here. So in here, we can just create a space. We can create space here. And now the rest that you see here, we can just minimize them like this. Okay, so that is what you see here is browse more for property. And that is the tab that you see here, browse more for property. Now the next one here is, let's see, we have also the next one. Now let's also minimize that and see. So this also next. Okay. So we also have the same browse more for property. Now let's see the reason why I have a duplicated values like that. So we have the first 3, and the first 3 is over here. Let's see. First 3, the second 3, making 6. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 5. And addition to this one, making 6. And we have browse more for property, and that is this one. So that is the end for this. And here it is tab 2. Okay. So tab 2, we're also having the same thing. And I have tab 3. So this is tab 2. As you can see from this area, we have the tab display here. Let's see the tab again. So this is the tab content. This is tab 1. So this is tab 1, and this is tab 2, and we have tab 3. So within each, we have 6 images in there. So this is tab 1, tab content. Now this is tab 1. The tab 1 has 6. This is the first one. So first one over here. So this is the first one. This is the second one. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Okay, so that is it. Now with this tab content, we can tab 1 and tab 2. We can actually highlight them. So we can highlight all this. So let's see again. We have this, and that is a tab. So tab 1, tab 1, tab 2, tab 2, tab 3. Okay, so here, now let's go to the last end. Let's move this I from there. And now that is the ending of the tab. So this is tab 3, ending of tab 3. So we can end it like this. So we have tab 3 here. Let's open tab 3 and view it. So tab 3. So this is tab 3 here. Now when we go to tab 1, this is tab 3. So we can minimize this like that. Now let's go to, this is tab 2. This is tab 2. So now we have the tabs. You see, so tab 2 and tab 3, they are gone. Now what we have here, it is only tab 1. Now tab 1 comprises of 6 images. So there's the first one, there's the second one. We have this, third, we have fourth, we have fifth, and that is the sixth one. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. Let's first work on displaying all the data before later on we talk about creating the various tabs to get a tab 1, tab 2, and tab 3 as you've seen in the template. So using this first tab, this is tab 1. Okay. So with this tab 1, we have the data in here. So this is the data from this. So we can pass it over here. That's what we're going to work on. Before that, let's inject the service. So we inject I have service, and I will say house service. So with this, we can use a type. So let's see. We have to using and that is using Blazor Wasm dot affordable homes. So dot client dot services. Okay, so this is going to get this I house service. from this area. Okay. Now let's look and see. So from services, and so .house services. Okay. So now we have injected this. Now let's call this method the object that we have created. And now down here, so let's create code behind file. And now in here, let's have list of house response BTO. And I will name this as house data equals new. So this two, we have to put this on top. So as using Blazor Wasm affordable homes set BTO. So the BTO hub, and we can cut this and I'll put them in the import.Blazor file. So that is the import. So all methods that you want, all users has to be put here. Save this and go back to the property list, and it might be solved now. So once we have this house services, or this house service being copied, we go to our code. So let's format this. Okay, so let's use an override to get data from database using the initialize async. So when page initializes, that is what we want to do. We can create a private get data. So there's a private async, and here is a task, and I will say get data. So in this get data, we can talk about house data is equal to await house service dot get all house data. So when the page loads, call this method to get you the parent data that you want. And we must await this. Okay, so you can now save this. Now here must be an async. So when page loads, we call this method. So now this method contains the list of data. So we can now go to application and check. So we can say from this that. So with this row, that is a row that contains all the necessary or the 6 stats. So in here, this is for the individual for 1. So that's what we can do. We can use as if house data is not equal to now. Okay, so this is what we want to use. If it is not equal to now, then use this. But if it is now, then what do you want to do? If it is now, then you want to call this. Let's call this spinner. So we created this spinner in the other video. That's the first video. So check the description, it is there as well. So we save this. So if data is not equal to now, then display. But in case it is now, then display the spinner. Okay. So if this is not equal to now, then let's grab this. And now paste it here. So let's paste it over here like this. So let's format it to 1. So if data is not equal to now, then before we do that, we have to even look through. So let's start this again. And I will say for each. And this for each, we are going for this house model. So house response DTO. So house response DTO. Then let's say house data, or let's use an item in, okay, so in this house data. So this house data is a list. So you're looking through the list, and we have to now paste this in. So let's paste this here. So now we can now grab this item. Let's copy this item. And now where we have this image, okay, we can now paste the image over there. So let's paste this image. So let's use at item dot. We can now grab the properties, that's the image. Also, this is for sale. So here it's going to be the mode. So we're going to say at item dot mode. So this is the type. So at item dot type. So at item dot type. And now there's going to be price. So you say at item dot price. At item dot price. And also this is the name. So this name, we're gonna say at item dot name. Then in this, when you click on it, you can go for maybe house detail. Then you can now pass in this item dot ID. So we need to specify the ID to get the details of this. Also, now in here, for this is a location, and we can now pass in at item dot location. And now this is size. So at item dot size. So number of beds. So at item dot number of beds. So number of beds and number of size or number of baths. So at item dot number of bath. Okay, so we have this data here. This is the second one and the third one. So let's minimize this one. So we can grab this. Okay, then we can just cut like that. Let's comment it. So in here, let's paste them here. We save it. So it means you are going to display only the data from a database. Now later videos, when we are done, we're going to clear all this. Okay, but for now, let's maintain the template here. We have taken only one, and that's what we are looking through. Now let's run the application and see. So I'm going to click on this. Now let's wait for it once, then we see the output here. All right, so you can see our page has now loaded, and what we did or what you wanted, that is exactly what we are seeing here. Just that in this, you're not having the image now because you need to convert the image into base64 string before we can display them here. And as I speak, we don't have the image in the database, but with a little bit of time, we're going to create that, and we're going to have the image displayed over here. So you can see we have two data in the database as we did in the second video. That is creating the API. So we have the house type, a house type 1. So we have two data here, house name and has a house name 1 location. There's a price, and we're supposed to have an image here. We're not having the image, but later on we're going to have the image. And because we have browse more tab. Now there are a few things that we can check over there. So let's see. Now when you check the first one, you can see the data while delay. Here it is 0.1 seconds. And when we check the second one with this, so this is what 0.3 seconds. Now the second thing here is we want to check if this is working. So let's also refresh this again and see if the spinner is going to work initially when the page loads. Because when the page loads, it has to make a call from the database and I'll get the page list data. But since it has been cached now into the database, that's why we are not seeing the spinner. Let's clear this. Let's test the spinner well so we can clear the content of this. So let's go to settings in the Chrome, and now I want us to clear. Where can I even have clear? So data. All right, so let's go to the history of this. So from this, I can now here, I can close this and history. So history. So let's clear browser data. So I want to clear all times. So clear data here. Okay. So now let's refresh this again. And it's going to, since it has not been cached yet, it's going to now load and get the data from the database. Now let's see if that one will work. Okay, so we have it so fast that as soon as you run the application, the spinner is hidden, the data gets received from the database. The services are working well. But let's see later on when we have a huge data that it needs to organize them and submit them, we're going to delay a little bit. So for now we have only two types. That is why it is so fast, like a horse. Okay, so let's move on. Now let's go to settings. That's the page property list. That is the result page that we are working on. So I indicated a bug in the just now a few seconds ago, and that's the data while delay. You will see all the data here, they're going to have the same attribute, 0.1 second. But if you check the previous one, you see we have 0.1 second, and here it is 0.3 seconds. The next one is 0.5 seconds. You see 0.1 second again. So if we see that from here, it is having 0.1 second again, and it has 0.3 seconds, 0.5 seconds, and now we have 0.1 second again. Okay, so when you check this, it means we want to start from 0.1, 0.3, and 0.5. So first image, we can display 0.1, because when you check here, this, let's see, now this is the first property, the first house, this is the second one, and it's delaying for 0.3. This is the third one, 0.5, and there is a fourth one. So the 1, 2, 3, they have this data while delay, and now it gets repeated to all these times. So how can we have the same feature as we saw in our template? So in here, we can now create, let's create double. So delay time is equal to the 0.1 s. Okay, so let's use for MBOK. Okay, so we can set up to 0.1, and let's see if that works. 0.1. So with this delay, when the page loads initially, that is what you want to do. So 0.1, you're going to clear 0.1. And you know what you're going to do? Guess what? Let's paste this in here. So delay time, then we add the S here. So 0.1. Okay, so 0.1. Then we have this X. But you see here, we have a little problem here. So unless you space it. Now, when we space it, it's going to be like 0.1, then a space before the second comes in. So let's see if we can put this, let's see if it will be possible for us to put this in this like this. Let's try that and see if that one works. So let's see. Now this delay time. So it's delay time, then we have this X. Okay. So when the page loads, the first one, you want to pass this. But the second one, when it loads the first one up to the end, you want to increase. You want to increase this delay time. So we say delay time plus equal 0.2. So delay time equal what? This is the current one, that is 0.1 to this 0.2, making 0.3. So the first one is going to have 0.1. Now the second one is going to have 0.3. The third one is going to have 0.5. So we can now check on top here. Or we can even check down here. So when it gets added, so here 0.1, when it runs, so this is going to be 0.3. Now 0.3, when it gets to the same place, it's going to be 0.5. Okay, so when it gets to 0.5, then we want to set it up. So when 0.5, it will be 0.7. Okay, so if it is 0.7, so we can check use if statement here. So if delay time So if the load time is greater than 0.5, okay, so if it's greater than 0.5, then we want to reset the delay time equal to 0.1. So that is what we are doing. Control Alt F, format it. So that's what we are checking. So if delay time here, we're going to add 0.2 any time that it loops. But here, when it is greater than 0.5, then we want to set this. So meaning that when it gets to this, when here it is 5, we're going to loop the next one and get it set here as 5. But when it gets to the next loop whereby it is 7, meaning it's greater than 7, if so, then set the next one to 0.1. So first one 0.1, second one 0.2, third one 0.5, and the fourth one will be 0.1. The 0.1 is going to come back again here. Now the next one is going to have 0.2, the next one 0.3 until this condition is met. So that is what. Now let's try this and see. So refresh this. And now let's wait to see what's going to happen in this application. We're going to have 0.1, 0.2. Let's see. So let's wait and see how this is going to work. So it is refreshing. So let's wait. So let's wait patiently for this when the page needs to reload. So that is what we need to do, and I hope you understand what we are doing. So this is just a simple condition that we are setting across here. To have this data while delay, we have it set. You can see we are not having it from the database. There is an in application set. So we are setting this in the application. So let's see now, this is successful. Let's go to the page and see if we're going to reload this. We're going to launch it on browser again. So let's wait for it. Let's see the outcome. Okay, so let's wait. It seems it's going to open its own browser instance. Good, so that's opening a new one. So let's wait whilst it is loading. Let me close this one. So let's wait for a while. Although it is wasting our time, but you want to see that feature is working. So let's wait and see how it's doing. But if you can see this well, unless you have more data in the database table. So right from this, we're going to create a dummy data in a database table and see if this feature is going to work. If these two data that we have is not being affected, we're going to work on that. Okay, so let's wait patiently for this content to load. Then let's see. At times Blazor it slows a little bit because this is a Blazor WebAssembly, and it has to get everything from the server and now install it in the browser's memory so that it can run in the memory. It has to cache everything over there. So that is why I plan to need to take time to load. Let's wait. It seems like it's almost done. So we have this loading, as you can see from our title, Blazor Wasm affordable hooks, and we have our normal loading design. So let's wait. So as soon as this is done, it's going to make a call to the service to get us all list of house data from the database. So as soon as this page loads, that call is going to be called, and it gets connected to our controller, Then the controller also passes on to the repository. The repository also gets the data from the database, passes it to the converter, and the converter returns a new model converted data. Then it has to return to this client service. The service has to render it to the app, that's the browser again. So that's the process that's supposed to go through before a data can be retrieved from the database. Okay, so let's see. All right, so we have the two data at the same time. All right, so in this video, we've been able to display our house data from the database. Now, the next one here is, as you can see, there are some tabs on top here. And you can see we have for sale, for rent, and featured. So with these tabs, how can we generate them from database? And how do you click them to get a specific data which relates to the button clicked? We're going to talk about that in the next video. Thank you guys for watching and take care of yourself. And I'm going to catch you up in the next update.